Morning. This is the Board of County Commissioners meeting. It is Tuesday, August 23rd, 2022. It is 6 p.m. and I'm calling this meeting to order. We'll start off with the pledge of, before that, I will make introductions. I am Chair Carolina Mejia. Vice Chair Ty Menser is joining me in the podium, as well as Commissioner Gary Edwards. We have County Manager Ramiro Chavez, as well as Assistant County Manager Robin Campbell, and Clerk of the Board Jamie Caldwell. We'll start off with the Pledge of Allegiance to be led by Vice Chair Menser.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Vice Chair Menser. Would you like to do a land acknowledgement?
Yes, ma'am. We would also like to start today's meeting with a land acknowledgement. We would like to acknowledge and thank the indigenous Salish peoples whose elders and ancestors have lived on and cared for the land and waterways of this county since time immemorial, and who still inhabit the area today, specifically the Squaxin Island, Nisqually, and Chehalis people, our sovereign tribal partners. Truth and acknowledgement are critical to building mutual respect and connection across all barriers of heritage and difference. The purpose of this acknowledgement is to disrupt ongoing erasure of injustices done and to remember history as a stepping stone towards healing.
Thank you, sir. With that, is there an approval of the Tuesday, August 23rd agenda?
I move to approve the proposed agenda for Tuesday, August 23rd, 2022.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards?
Aye.
Commissioner Menser?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. Next is the approval of the board meeting minutes from August 16th.
I move to approve board meeting minutes from August 16th, 2022.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards?
Aye.
Commissioner Menser?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. Next is the opportunity for the public to address the board. The Board of Thurston County Commissioners welcomes comments from the public. However, there are some guidelines governing such comments to ensure they are appropriate and do not take advantage of the fact that most meetings are televised. The general speaking guidelines are as follows. Please introduce yourself, including the address you reside in the county. Please address the board, not the audience or staff. Please silence your cell phones for those in the boardroom. Speakers are limited to a total of 4 minutes to address the board. Meeting attendees cannot donate their speaking time to another person. No comments that are lewd and offensive, inflammatory, hateful, defamatory, or discriminatory in nature. Please be respectful. No outburst of any kind. No comments that are commercial in nature, such as promotion of a for-profit business. All materials provided to the county may be considered public records, subject to public release upon request, pursuant to the Public Records Act, Chapter 4256 of the RCW. No remarks about pending land use permits or similar matters that could eventually come before the board on appeal, and no electioneering. Thank you so much for your cooperation. With that, we don't have anyone in the boardroom.
Maybe we have somebody on the Zoom screen, Ms. Christina Janes, would like to provide testimony this afternoon.
Hey, good afternoon or evening now. And I wasn't going to provide testimony, and I just wanted to stop in and say, I applaud this effort for an evening meeting. I think hopefully in the future you will gain some more traction with public. However, I'm sitting in your parking lot because I cannot enter your building. So that's a problem.
No,
So
absolutely.
That is a problem. So I'm going to continue watching this on Facebook, but for future evenings, maybe have somebody at the door until 6 p.m. So
We will get the door open.
Yeah, we'll get the door
If you
right
want
now.
to, yeah.
We don't want you to sit in the car.
I'm like, oh, this will be fun. I can road trip you back home and watch. But yes, so applaud the evening one. I hope you guys wait till after school starts and things get back to normal schedule and try again on evening meetings. So thumbs up. I'll come out in a minute. So I'll see you soon.
Thank you, Christina.
Well, that might explain.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
Okay, so the county manager went to unlock the door downstairs right now. So,
Chair, might you want to explain to the audience about what we're doing? Just because it's a little different.
sure, yes. I'll go ahead and, Commissioner Edwards, he did not have his mic on, but he asked me if I wanted to explain, kind of what we're doing while the county manager comes back and he gives us a county manager's update. And this was part of the resolution that we passed, and in the resolution, we said we may have evening meetings. So we are trying this every fourth Tuesday of the month. This is our first fourth Tuesday. And so this is the reason why we're having a 6 p.m. meeting today. And first time we're trying it out. Maybe towards the future we have more public engagement, but this was definitely a request that we received from several constituents in preference for an evening meeting. So is there anything that either Vice Chair Menser or Commissioner Edwards would like to add to that?
Oh, I'll just say that the ordinance governing county commissioner meetings had to be updated for 2 or 3 different reasons. And so it was really driven by those things. But as we went through the ordinance top to bottom, we had that separately request. And so we decided to put that in there to give us this latitude to try. So it's kind of a side thought in a sense to some other changes, but we heard it consistently, and it has been tried in the past, but it's up and down whether folks prefer the attendance, but we'd heard it enough that we wanted to give it a try. And so every fourth Tuesday of the month, the board has the option to make an evening meeting, and I think for the first few, we're going to try it and see how it goes.
Commissioner Menser covered it for me. Thank you very much. Yep.
Perfect. Okay, moving on to county manager's update.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And the door is open. My apologies if somebody found the door locked. We'll make sure the next time will be open, but currently it's open. And thank you for the note. I'd like to follow up to the public testimony you received last Tuesday from Mr. John Wilson. He lives on Vale Road, and he was making a comment related to a letter that he received related to a potential violation. Staff from CPED follow up with Mr. Wilson after the meeting, had the opportunity to explore a little bit more his comments. Then we realized that the letter that he received in terms of a non-compliance issue is related to the Department of Ecology. Thurston County did not initiate that compliance action, and he is aware that he needs to reach out to the Department of Ecology to follow up with the letter that he received related to a non-compliance issue related on his property. So I just want to circle back on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions, comments for the county manager, Commissioner Edwards?
No, ma'am. Thank you.
Commissioner Menser? Okay. So we'll move to consent items. We have 3. Is there a motion?
I move to approve consent items 3A through 3C.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. This is a non-debatable motion. I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards?
Aye.
Commissioner Menser? Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. Motion passes. Department items, starting with item 4A from the auditor's office, which is the approval of the voucher list.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will cover this item. And for your consideration is the approval of the voucher list for the week of July 25th, 2022 for a combined amount of $583,401.65. Traditionally, this item is on your consent agenda. The reason that you have this item as a department item is for you to exercise your individual votes, since there is an expenditure related to the atrium, and that is located on page 69 for the amount of $4,252.12. Any questions?
Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No questions this time.
Questions, Commissioner Menser? Okay, I'm ready for a motion.
I move to approve the voucher list for the week of July 25th, 2022 for a combined amount of $5,583,401.65.
I'll second. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? I'll call,
No.
no, I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards?
Nay.
Commissioner Menzer?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. Motion passes. Next is Community Planning and Economic Development, item 5A, set a public hearing on Development Code docket item A27, non-conforming code update, critical areas ordinance, and Ashley Arai, Associate Planner, will be presenting this item.
Good evening, Commissioners. I am here tonight to request that the board set a public hearing for the non-conforming code update, and that's Development Code docket item A27. The purpose of the hearing will be to accept public comment on proposed amendments to chapters 24.03 and 24.50 of the Critical Areas Ordinance, to expand administrative review of small-scale projects associated with non-conforming uses, structures, and lots that have minimal impacts to critical areas. The Planning Commission did hold 4 work sessions and a public hearing before making a recommendation of approval with a majority 5-3 vote. A briefing was then held with the board on August 3rd, where staff presented a project overview. At this time, staff respectfully requests the board set a public hearing for September 27th or the first available date thereafter. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Commissioner Edwards.
No questions, thank you.
Commissioner Menzer.
Since you're here and we have a little bit of time, this isn't necessarily related to the public hearing, but there was an email exchange and I didn't totally understand the answer I got about the 3 kinds of projects that were identified. You said small scale projects. I'm trying to figure out the scope of this item. Is it the 3 items are an illustration of a broader category of small scale projects, or are small scale projects defined as these 3 situations and only these 3 situations? And one of them I know is like when you're building landward, upward from the stream or whatever, so it's not really a functioning buffer. The second one was when you're doing a renovation that's where the value exceeds 50%, not treating that any differently, making it simpler. And I can't remember what the third example was.
It's administrative review of permitted projects as long as they're a minimum of 100 feet from a wetland edge.
Okay.
Which is how we treat stream and riparian buffers. Those also go through an administrative review, so we're just trying to make it consistent for
Right.
wetlands as well.
Okay, right. Wetland and riparian
Yeah.
using the same rule.
Yeah, and not changing what kinds of projects would be permitted within that buffer, just changing the review of those projects to administrative.
Okay, so with that clarification, my question is, are those the 3 categories that are covered here, or could there be others that fall within the small scale?
Those are the 3 situations.
They're laid out in the proposed code. I haven't seen the actual code language that we're going to be asked to approve, but are those?
Yes.
Those are described, those kinds of projects?
Yes, the way the code is structured, they will come up in different sections of the code, but those are the 3 changes of review.
Okay,
From hearing examiner to.
just curious. Thank you.
Thank you. And I don't have, County Manager.
Can you give us some indication to the public who would like to review this document, where they can find the document for upon review leading to the public hearing? And I believe upon request, that can be also issue a printed copy of the proposed changes, is that correct?
Yes, we are happy to provide paper copies. There is a web page, and so if you just search Thurston County non-conforming code update, it'll pop up. Otherwise, it's linked from the Development Code docket page.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. I'm ready for a motion.
Okay, I move to set a public hearing for September 27th, 2022 at 5 p.m. or soon thereafter as the matter may be heard on the Development Code docket item A27, non-conforming code update, critical areas ordinance.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead, sir.
Just just so the public understands what we're doing here is we've had numerous discussions about this ordinance update, trying to streamline the process for citizens that make applications. So even though we're not having a lot of discussion on it tonight at this meeting, we've had numerous briefings on this particular topic. And I want to thank staff for their hard work. Thank you.
Okay, I'll call for the vote.
Mr. Edwards?
Aye.
Mr. Mensah?
Aye.
Mr. Mejia?
Aye. Motion passes. Next is item 6A from Public Works, and it's request for proposal for a comprehensive stormwater study for the storm and surface water utility. Nate Ensley is here to present on this matter. Nate?
Thank you. Good evening, Commissioners. A comprehensive study of the storm and surface water utility and associated regulatory drivers is an industry best management practice which will assist the county in establishing goals and determining appropriate levels of service and will provide a gap analysis. The study will review programmatic activities for permit compliance, evaluate current rate structures and methodologies against other similar utilities, review the capital project ranking process, and evaluate the asset management program against industry best practices. This study intends to provide a comprehensive assessment and make recommendations for the management of the storm and surface water utility to provide an equitable program across unincorporated Thurston County, meet applicable regulatory requirements, and meet strategic objectives of the county. Public Works is requesting that the Board of County Commissioners approve issuance of a request for proposal for this study. Upon receipt, review, and scoring of the submitted proposals, the ranked proposals and financial impacts of the proposed contract will be presented to the board for consideration and approval under a separate action. All contract expenditures will be funded through storm and surface water utility fees under the currently adopted 22 and 23 budget. This action would be consistent with the county's strategic plan and is in alignment with Initiative 8 to support robust and well-maintained infrastructure systems for a thriving community, and Initiative 9 to support environmental health and climate stabilization. Happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions? Commissioner Edwards?
No, again, I think we've had a lot of discussion on this. I do have some concerns as far as the dollar amount and what the end product will be, but more to come. It's always good to get more information, so we'll see what comes. Thank you.
Commissioner Mensah, questions?
Nate, did you mention the proposed or the projected dollar amount?
Yeah, I did not in my discussion just now, but the projected dollar amount is between $350,000 and $425,000. And that will be a dollar amount that we kind of project on the RFP documentation itself.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm ready for a motion.
I move to authorize Public Works to issue a request for proposal for services associated with preparing a comprehensive stormwater study for the storm and surface water utility.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I will
Go ahead.
just add that, correct me if I'm wrong, Nate, but I believe this proposal is supported by the Storm and Surface Water Advisory Board,
You are correct.
as well as obviously our Director of Public Works here at Thurston County.
You are correct.
Okay, thank you.
That's my understanding.
Okay, hearing no other discussion, I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards?
Aye.
Mr. Mensah?
Aye.
Mr. Mejia?
Aye. Motion passes. So with that, we'll move on to our standing items, starting with item 7A. Commissioners will report on board work sessions and assigned committee meetings, providing updates on actions taken as well as upcoming issues. Commissioner Edwards, we will start with you.
For last week, fire commissioners meeting, nothing unusual there. Thurston Mason Behavioral Health Administrative Services Governing Board with Commissioner Mensah, and that was held over in Mason County. And we're trying to figure out several options. I guess the 8, I'm going to have to refer to my seatmate, 888, is that?
988?
988 is one of the things we're trying to figure out where to house that reception of those type of phone calls on mainly on mental health issues that might be coming in. The steady meeting, South Thurston County Economic Development Initiative, and that was held over in Rainier, again with my seatmates. Nisqually River Council, constituent calls involving Supreme Living proposed facility in Tenino and veterans issues. And that was about most of my week. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Metzer?
Okay, so we had work on the Board of Health meeting that's happening tomorrow. We're going to be reviewing potential applicants there and putting the process in place for moving forward. Washington State Association of Counties meeting revolved around a tool that's available to counties for financial, our finance committee sort of activities and trying to do better there for taxpayers. Meeting today with our stakeholders about restrictions in the jail and how and why and where that's all going was informative, I think. County manager and I attended a town hall last week where Congressman Derek Kilmer, I don't remember the other two panelists. One was a military, very high up general, and another one was a executive of a health organization, nonprofit, and they talked about climate change from all different angles. Global leadership initiative, put that on. Steady, again, with my seatmates. Capitol Lake, we had a special meeting with county leadership. I was really just listening to try to facilitate, rather than me trying to play telephone between back and forth. I wanted the consultants for the Capitol Lake group to speak directly to our leadership and so that they could sort of better understand where we're trying to get to and are there pathways to get there, and there'll be more to come on that. Climate meeting happened yesterday, and BHO, the other part of that, Commissioner Edwards brought that up. There was another really interesting thing that we chewed on for quite some time, which is a new state grant where they're trying to build. They will finance the building of facilities for crisis stabilization beds. And they want to build 6 of them. And we're talking about $6 million or so that could be had to help build this. There's land directly behind in Shelton, the BHO's facility there. The question is, as always, how do the dollars work when we're trying to operationalize that activity, because crisis stabilization beds do not have the same funding stability that other types of beds do. They actually went to Spokane and looked at a model there that's working. And the reason it was working in Spokane is because they have a detox center there. And the detox center has 24/7 nursing requirements that can kind of pinch hit and double for some of the needs, staffing needs for the crisis stabilization, and they were getting an economy of scale, so to speak, and basically making the dollars work even if they weren't getting paid on 100% of those crisis stabilization beds. So our leadership seems to think we could do this if we could build detox type of activities into the model. So we're thinking about the idea of proposing the model to the state that we think works. If they don't want to do it, then fine. But, you know, we want to be really upfront that this is the only way we think we can make the funding flow and be smooth. So no decisions were made. It was just a really long discussion about all the ins and outs. And we basically tasked our staff with checking back in with the state, the Department of Health or whoever's running that program, and getting some questions answered and figuring out if it's something we should bite at. But it would be nice because there are 0 crisis stabilization beds in Thurston County at the moment. So that was one of the more interesting meetings we've had at the BHASO. That's it.
That's good to know. Thank you for that. For me, it was a busy week last week. I attended WASAC yesterday. I attended study with my seatmates. There was a lot of conversation about the, the ballot measure that we're putting out to move to 5 commissioners. So there was a lot of good conversation around that. I attended the Regional Housing Council Executive Committee, where we were discussing things to add on the agenda, and of course, the right-of-way efforts got added. There was a lot of discussion around that. The 3 cities meeting, there was a lot of items. We talked about the right-of-way efforts and kind of the regional concern about the new measures. We spoke also about the commissioner's ballot measure, and there was conversation about maybe the county manager going to present to the cities if the cities were interested on this matter in the future, and some cities said they would be interested in doing this. We also spoke about the proposed opioid settlement. And there was consensus within all of the jurisdictions that, they were going to sign this. Of course, we're waiting for more of the measures to come through, but that was the big conversation is everyone's on the same page to do that. There was also conversation about, is there a possibility for all of us to put all of our money together and create something of a bigger impact with that money that we're getting? Or what's going to be the best approach once we get the settlement from that? We discussed the Hopkins Drainage District, and that's where we found out that there was a public hearing on Saturday, which of course the county manager reported this morning that there's going to be one on Friday as well.
6 hours wasn't enough.
6 hours was not enough. And then climate change efforts, and that was, it was interesting because that was a topic that Lacey brought forth and was Mayor Ryder. And he wanted to know basically what the other jurisdictions were doing and why we hadn't really seen any action come from that yet. And we updated basically on kind of how our climate program manager were going to start interviews, and I'm not sure if those have already taken place or coming up on Monday. So we updated them on kind of where our staffing position is, and I believe Tumwater updated as well, and the city of Olympia updated on what they've been doing with their program manager on this. So yeah, it was interesting just because we've, he said that, we were, they were committed to it, and that, he was just wondering where we were because he just really hadn't seen really any action come through, and was wondering if we had paused our efforts.
On that topic, the chair of the climate committee is calling for a retreat so we can kind of get a little more organized with our work plan. And she was pushing for September, but I pushed for October because I wanted our staff, this staff member that we're going to have to be involved, because she was talking about staff being involved. So I really felt like that was important. So we're shooting for October. If that comes up again with Mayor Ryder, we're going to have a retreat to. And the climate advisory work group, citizens have been placed, and they're going to have their first meeting next week.
Thank you for that. No, I put it in my list.
Madam Chair, I had to leave the meeting earlier as part of the agenda items were the frequency of those meetings. Was that discussed?
Yes, so that was discussed, and we're going to meet every 2 months. So next meeting will be in October. And Thurston County will be hosting once again.
Once again, that's right.
Once again. Then I did a tour with OliMap. We went down to Percival Creek. We had done Wheeler and the name escapes me, just with them beforehand, and now they took me down to Percival Creek just because I wanted to see the areas that were going to be cleaned up by the row efforts, the right-of-way efforts that have been going on. So I went down with them to that area, see what they're doing, and had a really good conversation with them on that. I also went down to the Tenino Chamber and provided a presentation on kind of the year in review, things the county has been doing, and Jenica Machado was there with me, and I'm very appreciative that, you know, she was able to give a really good presentation along with me. And intercity transit, not really much to report on intercity transit, but that would conclude my reports.
Is intercity transit is the resumption of complete service pre-pandemic on the horizon? Because like my bus used to go all the way till 11:30, it stops at 8:30 now. So when am I getting my 11:30 bus back?
It has been in conversations. I think right now what they're struggling with, and it's what everyone else is struggling with, is staffing and getting back, getting drivers to go back to that full capacity. So they've been doing a couple of recruitments, and we've had great groups come through. So I'm hoping that soon enough we'll be able to get to that level where we're able to offer the 100, but they've been facing a lot of issues with hiring, and I think that's the common trend all around.
When does the new building open its doors?
I'm not sure. I'll get back.
I thought it was September, but that was old information.
Yeah, that's not.
Probably not, okay.
So I'll send an update. I just have to check back on my notes. I don't have it at the top of my head. I don't want to give you a wrong date.
Okay.
Commissioner Edwards.
I just wonder if this wouldn't be the right format, or maybe it's premature to talk about solutions to problems and how new wrinkles develop and stuff. And that was what came up with Commerce, as far as are we not partnering together and all that. We had a little briefing this morning about that. I didn't know if this would be the format for the county manager to make mention of it, just to let people know that oftentimes there's complications that develop in these very complicated situations that we deal with.
Yeah, I'll be more than happy to speak about that if you like. The briefing that I provided to the board this morning, it was related to the efforts and the coordinating efforts on the state's activities to sweep the camps located within the state's right of way, mainly on I-5, on the I-5 corridor. The staff from the region, the county, and the cities have been working diligently to develop a plan that was submitted to Commerce. And within that plan included the purchase of a motel with the hope there will be a transitional housing and eventually will be somewhat of affordable housing that will benefit not just the individuals in the state's right away that will be swept, but also individuals within the county region. It was an understanding the county will take the lead in receiving the money and conducting the transaction and finding what will be the right outfit to operate that hotel, not just in the short term, perhaps in the long term. We heard from the state that perhaps that's going to be a direct negotiation between the state and this particular provider. So we're still in the works as to how that came to be. I'm trying to schedule a meeting with the leadership at Commerce to understand the decision-making process. As Commissioner Mejia stated, it is going to be discussed at the Regional Housing Council tomorrow. So it's more to come. So as I stated this morning, I need to understand a little bit more the decision-making process and perhaps developing next steps, not just at the county level, perhaps at the regional level as well.
Any further questions on that?
No, ma'am.
The motel piece was one piece of a larger plan. Does the rest of the plan remain intact?
Yes, the rest of the
Just that
plan.
they're carving this one element off and
Yep.
doing a separate.
Right.
Okay.
And Yes, so the rest of the plan continue to be in place and continue to implement that. And in fact, they have issued, some funding related to the other pieces of the plan, which include the Franz Anderson property, which you may recall the county in partnership with the city of Olympia purchased this property to do a couple of elements, transitional housing, as well as long-term affordable housing in the long extended future. So that continues to be, and in fact, the city of Olympia received close to $6.5 million to build some tiny homes, and that is continues to be part of the plan.
Tiny homes at Franz Anderson?
And also a little bit of parking for RVs.
Thank you. Okay. No more updates. We'll move on to item 7B. The county manager will review the Board of County Commissioners schedule for the week of August 23rd, 2022.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Let me walk you through your combined schedule where at least 2 commissioners will be present. You may have individual appointments on your individual calendars. Those will not be part of my report. Nothing for the rest of today. So you have the evening free for you. Moving on to Wednesday, August 24th at 2 in the afternoon. Tomorrow you have the Board of Health, a special meeting. The agenda has been posted. Thursday, August 25th at 10 in the morning, you have a regular commissioners check-in, and that agenda also has been posted. Nothing on your combined schedule for Friday, August 26th. Moving on to next week, Monday, August 29th, you have your standing Washington State Association of Counties Virtual Assembly at noon, but you also have a conflict. I believe Commissioner Mejia and Commissioner Edwards will be attending the Kiwanis meeting club, and that will be located at the Tyburg Annie's at 2100 West Bay Drive, Northwest in Olympia. Tuesday, August 30th, you will convene here at 9 in the morning for your agenda setting. The Board of County Commissioners for August 30th is at 2 in the afternoon. At 3:30, you have 2 public hearings, one related to the 2022 Gorge Open Space application, followed by the public hearing on the 6-year Transportation Improvement Program from 2023 to 2028. That's all I have for you. Thank you.
Any questions on that?
No questions, thanks.
Okay, so it is 6:38 p.m. We've reached the end of our meeting. We are adjourned. Thank you.